Good? Awesome. Thank you. So today we're going to go through a couple different trainings, a couple different topics. We're here at my house. We have Andy, Jared, Ryan, Eric, Robert, and Joy that are here with us today, all new agents. And we're going to start today with core transitions. Okay, so one of the things that we're going to go through here today is the first topic is core transitions. And this can be core transitions in a home, or it can be core transitions in a business. And one of your first core transitions is going to be something that probably everybody already knows, which is just some small talk. But there's going to be a key with the small talk. The key with the small talk is that there has to be a certain time limit. If you spend 20 minutes getting to know someone in their home, you may have now just made a friend. And when you make a friend, a lot of times, friends feel comfortable telling you no, right? They feel comfortable telling you no. And so how do you keep a fine line between making a friend and still keeping a professional? I found 7 to 10 minutes is a perfect amount of time. It's always nice to pay a compliment. So I'll write this down. I don't know if these guys watching are going to be able to see it. But number one, we're going to write down, you want to pay a compliment. Pay a compliment, right? You walk into someone's home, you see something about their home that you really like, you want to go ahead and just mention it to them. Make them feel good. When Ryan walked in, one of the first, actually all you guys did it, as a matter of fact, you guys asked, would you like me to take my shoes off? It just shows a sign of respect, and in some homes, they will ask you to take your shoes off, and some, they just say, no, come on in. So, just keep cognizance of things like that. You want to go ahead and, after you pay a compliment, you just want to kind of get to know them. If there's kids, look around. If you see pictures with children, if you just see something that sticks out that's family-oriented, you want to make mention of something like that. So that's literally your first, and guess what? People are sizing you up during those first couple minutes, for sure, right? Can we all agree? People are like, you're in my home, you're in my business, what are you all about? Are you a good person or are you a bad person? They want to know that, very, very quickly. And so you also don't want to try to outdo someone's conversation. If someone has children that are graduating from high school and they just got accepted to Penn State University, you don't want to go ahead and say, oh, that's really great, our children are the same age, but my son just got accepted to Yale. You don't want to make anybody feel bad, right, about, just pay, oh, that's great, Penn State's a great school, State College, they get a ton of snow, you know what I mean? Just don't try to outdo someone's conversation. You're in their home, just try to be respectful. So that's transition number one is pay a compliment and keep it between 7 to 10 minutes. If you're in someone's home or business and you're there for 2 minutes and they're egging you on, let's just get down to business. Why are you here? I'm busy. I got a place to go. I got to do this. I got to do that. Just kind of take a step back, take a breather, and just be okay with the fact that someone wants to get down to business. Don't try to continue to push it and go, well, wait, before we talk about business, I need to know more about your kids. Right? You got to tell me more about the crown molding up there. Don't do it. Just kind of just take a deep breath, take a step back, and know that it's time to get down to business. All right. Transition number two. Transition number two is set the tone. Set the tone. Set the tone is transition number two. And what that means is, that you're going to explain to your client what's going to happen here today. I'll give you an example. Okay, so Mr. or Mrs. Client, here's what we're going to do today. I'm going to find out more information in regards to why I'm here so I can make a professional recommendation to you. I am here to customize, so these are a couple key words. I'm here to customize a plan for you. So professional recommendation and customize a plan for you. You will know how much the plans cost. It's an elephant in the room. Don't let the elephant grow and grow and grow to the end of the presentation, and then all of a sudden they're like, just get down to it. How much does it cost? Guess what? You already told them in the beginning. They're going to find out. So now you've already gotten that elephant out of the room. You're going to know how much the plans cost. We're going to customize it. I'm going to give you a professional recommendation, and you will know all the information before I leave here today. Is that a fair way to start? And now it's kind of like I'm bringing them, you're going to hear me say this over and over again today, I'm reeling them in and I'm bringing them to me. Guys, you want to get the client on your side of the table. You're always going to be sitting across from somebody, but mentally, you want to get them on your side of the table. Does this make sense? Right? Because it's almost like you want to bring them in like they're on your team. And so what you're going to do is, you're going to let them know this is how the presentation is going to go down. Here's what we're going to do today. Bam. Now you can get right into it. Transition number 3. Transition number 3 is you are going to, we'll call it a fact finder just for today, but it's also / where the sale is made. You can find this, gentlemen, on the Facebook page under the file section. It's called Where the Sale is Made. If you've ever been to one of our Philadelphia trainings, we give it as a handout. You can go ahead and you can print that out. Where the Sale is Made Fact Finder. At this point, this is where you're going to go ahead and you are going to begin to ask a series of questions in a sequence that require a direct response answer. These questions should not require a yes or no answer. They actually should require some sort of verbal communication. This is where the presentation is really going to happen. How do I mean? This is where you're going to ask this question. Okay, Eric? You're going to say something like, so let me ask you about your current plans that you have now. Do you have any current life insurance in place privately? Okay? Term, whole life, universal life, anything like that. Anything at work. Group policy. Now, Eric, you had asked me a question, am I ever going to find this out ahead of time? The answer is yes. When you're talking to a client before you come out to their house, you're going to find out things like what I just asked. Do you have any life insurance? Do you have any insurance at work? Any minor conditions? Minor. High blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes. Are you currently taking any prescription medications for anything specific? Anything major? Cancer, heart attack, stroke. In the last 10 years, be specific on this one, guys. In the last 10 years. It's kind of like you want to inspect what you expect. Again, you can find this information out over the telephone before you go out and see your client. But let's say you're talking to a business owner and you went in to schedule the appointment, and now you're in the appointment. Guess what? You never had a chance to get this information in the first meeting. So that's the reason why you would ask it then. Right? Everybody else, you should ask it over the phone. Another question I like to ask in the very beginning is any medications for anything like anxiety or depression? And then the last one, any major hospitalizations in the last 2 years for anything? And as we progress here through the transitions, you're going to find out that we're actually going to go through a whole series of medical questions that you're going to have to ask. But this is the way that you don't get caught in the end with, at the very end, all of a sudden you're going through and they chose an option and you're doing the application and you ask one of these questions and they're like, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you. I had a major heart transplant. But you forgot you left that one out, right? So kind of find that one out in the beginning so that you kind of know which way to go, okay? All right, so that's kind of the fact finder, and then where the sale is made. This is where you're going to, again, continue to ask a series of questions in a sequence. One of those questions could be financially. Do you have a 401k at work? Or an old 401k from your old job? An IRA? CDs? Money in the market? Money in a mattress? Money buried in the backyard? Anything along those lines, Mr. or Mrs. Client. And again, this is so I can make a professional recommendation. Right now you're starting to identify yourself as a professional. And based on their answers, you're going to use your legal pad to just write those answers down and leave it alone. Meaning if they say, yes, I have a 401k at work, you could ask the follow-up question, write this one down, have you lost any money in your 401k? Have you lost any money in the market? You could even do one more extra follow-up question, which is, does your employer match you dollar for dollar? And do you contribute anything over and above what your employer matches? And just write it down. Take notes, write it down. Don't get into an in-depth discussion about it. It's a mental note that you have on a legal pad. We're going to come back to this at the end. After they've done that, and you've now found out that they have a life insurance policy with Farmers, State Farm, whoever it might be, ask them if they could to please go ahead and get the policy. If you have scheduled an appointment over the telephone, you should have already prepared them and asked them to have the policy ready for when you get there, right? And reviewing a life insurance policy is super simple. A lot of times in the first, second, or third pages, you'll find that they have exactly what's going on in there. The premium, if they pay quarterly, annually, the term limit, if it's a whole life, if there's a cash surrender value, if they borrowed against it. I mean, literally, if you can read and write English, guys, you can read a life insurance policy for sure, okay? If you have your own life insurance policy, it's good practice. Go back and read your own, right? Kind of start at your own. And so that's kind of the fact-finding session / as you're starting to enter into where the sale is made. Where the sale is made, we're going to do that here in a few minutes. That's going to be a whole nother topic. But this is basically where you're going to start to ask questions in regards to what would happen in the event if. Okay? Not going to do it right this second. It's going to be a whole separate section. But that's this transition right here. This is like probably one of the most important transitions is finding out about the client, getting ready, and then asking the questions to find out what would happen, and this is where they're going to tell you why they need the program. So we'll come back to that. After you've gone ahead and you've established this, the next core transition in a home is where you are now going to let them know that you are going to customize a plan for them. Here's what I used to like to do. I used to like to take a lead and just flip the lead over. If it's a B lead and they come in a spreadsheet, I would literally just flip the piece of paper over. I would give them a brochure. So this is where you're gonna begin something called your 3-option close. That's transition number 4. 3-option close. Again, we're gonna cover that here today. We're gonna do the 3. Everyone's actually gonna practice this 3-option close. We're all gonna practice that today. But your 3-option close is where you're gonna customize it. Write this down. When you're ready to do the 3-option close, hand them something to read while you're doing it. And then, guys, please write this down. Here's exactly what you're going to say to your client. And you're going to say it like this. Please be patient with me. At this point, I'm going to customize a plan for you. If it's a husband and wife, just let them know, because it's husband and wife, right? It's going to take me an extra few minutes, so I can do one for each of you. And it's also a good time to ask for a favor. Would you mind getting me a glass of water, if they haven't already done so? The whole point is just to kind of keep them a little bit busy, so that you can do your due diligence and really put together the right plan for them. It's just a way just so that you can save distractions for yourself, especially new folks. Save the distractions for yourself so that you can go ahead and really put together the right options for them. Without them, you know what I mean? Without somebody breathing down your neck, or someone's like staring at the piece of paper that you're writing on and you write out the first option, right? And they see the price, like, Right? You don't want to hear that gasp. So just try to kind of keep them busy. And then give them a brochure. It's a great time to just give them something to read, ask them to do you a favor, grab a glass of water, whatever that might look like. All right? You'll put together 3-option close. That is your 4th transition. We'll learn that here very shortly. Okay? Number 5 is after you've established which option that we're going to go with, this is when you are now going to take out your laptop. If you're wondering, should I have already had my laptop out? How did I figure out the 3-option close? Like, all of your rate calculators should be on your cell phone. So write that down if you don't. Everybody at this point should have gotten a welcome email. Did everybody get a welcome email from corporate? Everybody? Yes. You just went through contracting. Yeah. Yeah, it's coming. Okay. Yeah, it's coming. Yours is probably coming.
I got mine.
Oh, perfect. Okay, and yours? Got it. Okay. So in your welcome email, that will show you where your rate calculators are. I like to have them all on my cell phone so that it's accessible. I can't tell you how many times I went and did a door knock and somebody already had coverage, and while I was standing at the door, I pulled open my rate calculator and showed them something for $30 cheaper, and what do you know, they let me in the door. Imagine that, right? Because on Johnny on the fly, I was able to show them something immediately. Okay. So, this is where you're going to open the laptop, open PC, and take app. This is where you're going to open your computer and take an app. So basically your transition from your 3-option close is to take an application. Very important. I'm going to show you how to do it right now. Here's how you say it. Okay. Mr. or Mrs. Client, what I'm going to do for you here today. So key. What I'm going to do. I'm doing this. Does everybody hear my language? Right? We talked about posture earlier. What I'm going to do for you. What does everybody want in life? What are you going to do for who?
Me, yep.
For me. What I'm going to do for you here today, not tomorrow. We're not thinking about this. We're doing it here today. Power windows inside, you know, right? We're getting windows today, right? Yep. You guys are getting the package.
Yep.
What I'm going to do for you here today is put together the application, one more time, for you. Put together the application today for you. So we listen to this line. We together. Remember earlier I talked about getting them on your side of the table? So we can get it in the hands of our keywords. It's all psychology. Of our underwriting department. All of a sudden now, Mr. or Mrs. Client feels like, wow, we're doing this together. We're a team. Okay, we. These are literally, these are the things that separate someone from walking out with an app and not walking out with an app. Okay? So that we can get the application in the hands of an underwriter for you. They, the underwriter, right? They will let us know the status over the next few days. They will let us know the status over the next few days, and I will be in touch within the next 48 hours. Is everybody good on that? Anybody need me to start over on that one? Everybody's still right. Good. Is that still running? Maybe. All right.
Question for you.
Yes.
So I noticed some of the people that post on the website.
Yes.
That some are like instant approvals.
Yes. Love that.
So, I mean, is there a possibility, all depending on the policy you're writing, things of that nature, will you know beforehand if you can get an instant or it's just, how's that?
You're going to know.
Okay.
Yeah, you're going to actually know right on the spot.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically what will happen is we have a Phoenix Express and Forrester Strong Foundation. And as an example, Forrester Strong Foundation seems to be the company that gives the quickest, fastest, right? Here's how you know. If you're sitting across from somebody, they have no medications, they answer no to all the medical questions, they have nothing in their driving history, and they've never committed a crime, and you just have this feeling in your gut that they're telling you the truth about everything, get ready, because you're going to have a 4-minute instant approval, and you're going to be paid in 48 hours. Well, it depends on your bank and how you get EFT. But yeah, that's how that works. Yep. So now we're taking the application. And then there's a couple things that I'm going to talk about here in regards to how to ask for banking information. So when you're going through your application, so this could be, it's not another transition, but it's equally as important. It needs to be mentioned. There's a certain way to ask for banking information. And one of the ways that you can ask for banking information is very simple. When you get to that point in the application, here's what you're going to say. Again, these are one of those things where you're going to want to write it down verbatim. Mr. or Mrs. Client, what is the name of the bank we will use to pay the premium each month? Bank of America. Okay? Great. What is the routing and account number? Folks, if you've done everything right up to this point, like we talked about here today, if your language is right, if your posture is correct, if your warm-up is 7 to 10 minutes, if you've been a pro and you've had confidence, there should be no backlash, like there should be no hesitation. You should literally watch your client get up from the table and go, let me go get you a check and I'll be right back. I mean, every single time. Some people will just go, oh, that's easy. Yeah, I'm running it. They just know it off the top of their head and they're going to spit it off to you, okay? If you have someone that says, well, I think I need to wait, or I think I need to think about it. No problem. No problem. Do you need a few minutes, or do you need a few days? Well, I need a few days. No problem. Here's what we're going to do today. Today we're going to submit the application. And then once the policy is approved, it then goes issued. I'm going to call you in between that time to let you know the status of your application. But I need to let you know this. Now, this is very important. What's today's date? The 11th? So today's the 11th. Have been medically approved, but you don't have coverage. And if something happens where you would have needed to trigger one of those living benefits, or even, God forbid, a catastrophe, no one will get paid in terms of you won't get any living benefits, and your beneficiaries will not get any money from the face amount. So what I'm explaining to you, basically, Mr. and Mrs. Klein, is once the application gets approved, it will then get issued. Then it gets activated, and you immediately have coverage. If you wait till the 25th, even though you've been medically approved, it will not pay out. Are you okay with that? And 9 out of 10 times they'll go, well, no, I mean, I want the coverage right away. Okay, great. Now, if you'd like, after it gets approved and gets issued, we can change the draft date. It's a simple call to the company. Do you know in the past 8 years how many people have called me to switch the draft date? None. None ever. It's just a defense mechanism by the client to just go, well, you know, this all kind of happened really quick, and maybe I just need... It's okay. It's okay. Agree with them, but explain. When you explain to people the process of how it works, they appreciate it now that they understand it, and they'll be okay with it. All right? Anybody have any questions about the banking info? Awesome. All right. So, PC, bam, you got the app in. App goes to the carrier. Shut it down. And then your next transition is going to be Emergency Response System, ERS. ERS is where you're going to have your client call and schedule appointments for you in the best case scenario. Worst case scenario, they're going to give you their name, their address, and their phone number, and then they're going to call the person for you when you're not there and tell them that they're going to be called, that you're going to be calling them. So they're basically going to lay you up there anyhow. So ERS, Emergency Response System. Here's how you do it. Emergency Response System is done psychologically. We're all on the same page here so far. We all understand that everything we're doing here is psychology. So you're going to explain, Mr. and Mrs. Client, if I was to tell you, guys write this down, if I was to tell you that hundreds of millions of dollars goes unclaimed by beneficiaries every year, would you believe me? Some people go, yes, I would, that makes sense. And some people go, really? Why? Here's why. As I sit here today, having this conversation, what are the odds that in 5 years, in 10 years from now, you're going to remember Brett Grossman sitting here before you having this conversation? And does anybody else even know that I sat here with you? Sometimes the spouse doesn't know that the other spouse took out a policy. The kids have no idea that the parents took out a policy. The grandkids have no idea that the grandparents... Is everybody with me on this? People just don't know that their relatives took out policies, that their cousins, their siblings took out policies, and that they were meant to be the beneficiary. My job is to let them know that you're going to task them with the responsibility that in the event you have to trigger one of these living benefits, critical illness, chronic illness, terminal illness, good? If you have to trigger one of these, I want them to call me. I want them to call me. Hey buddy, just give me 5 minutes, I'll call you right back. All right, bye. I want them to call me so that I can make sure we get a check to you for your living benefits. In the event of a catastrophe, I want one of your relatives to call me to make sure that we get a check to the beneficiary to pay for any expenses. Does that make sense? Now when you say that, they're like, oh yeah, that makes total sense. Great. Now I would just need, because they're going to be your emergency response, I just need to go ahead and I'm just going to need to gather up some information from them so I can set up their profile for you. Who is that? Who are those 2 or 3 people that you'd like to make that emergency response? Well, I want to make my cousin. I want to make my son. Great. Could you help me out and do me a favor? I don't want it to be me that calls them because I'm a stranger and they won't understand. Can you call them right now for me and schedule the time with them for me to come out and meet with them? See if they can do Wednesday at 8 o'clock. And now you got the client calling her son, you have the client calling her sister, so that you can go out there. One of the questions we get is, what if they're out of state? Do a Zoom call. Have them schedule you to do a Zoom call through the computer. And then while the client's on the phone with the client, while the client is on the phone with their emergency response, just tell the person over the telephone, pick it up, right? Get on the phone and say, hey, you're in another state. We're going to do this face-to-face through video conference. Here's the application. It's a free app for your computer. Download it, and I'll see you Wednesday at 8 o'clock. Get their email address so that you can send them the link.
How does that work? We just have to be licensed in that state?
Non-resident license, yes. So in order for you to write insurance business in another state, you have to go to the NIPR website and you'll get a non-resident license. You pay the fee, and typically within 48 hours, sometimes quicker, you can have that non-resident license. So that's one way to do the ERS and now begin to have clients scheduling you appointments, right? That's probably one of your last transitions, other than a cool down. And a cool down would be number 7. And a cool down to me, all that means is you are just going to set the tone and now follow through on everything that you said you were going to do. What does that mean? That means that everything you said you were going to do from the moment you walked into their house, you've done. And you're going to continue to do that. Mr. and Mrs. Client, I'm going to call you in the next 48 hours. Now, if you get an instant approval, Eric, call them right after it gets approved to let them know, hey, congratulations, you actually came back, hey, congratulations, you came back as approved, and so you know it's gonna get issued in the next 24 hours, and then the policy will get mailed out to me. I will then call you back and schedule a time to come deliver the policy to you. Delivering the policy, so now you're setting the tone, you're cooling down, you're letting them know what the next steps are, and delivering the policy will also give you an opportunity to gather up more ERS and deliver an IUL depending upon who the client is and their age and all that stuff. Yep, so that's kind of your cool down, is just setting the tone to let them know what's gonna happen next and staying in communication. I always ask, I say, are you good on text or are you better on calling? Because I like to call, but if they don't answer, I'll leave a voicemail, and my voicemail sounds something like this. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Client, Brett Grossman here, giving you a call just like I told you I would, and I don't have a status for you now. Your application's in the hand of the underwriting department. Once I know more, I'll give you another call back. Or it goes, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Client, congratulations, your policy was approved. Do me a favor, give me a call back so we can schedule a time so I can deliver the policy to you just like I told you I would. That's it.
I know typically when you're doing these, you'll get an idea of what the policy will run.
Yes.
Have you ever had it where you give them a dollar amount and then it comes back where it's higher or lower, or it's, I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. If you're not using one of our simplified issue carriers, so Forester Strong Foundation, Phoenix Express are two of our, and we have an Americo product. They're typically the ones that the rate will not change. If you use a product like LSW Term, there's a chance it could be rated better or worse. Emeritus, better or worse. American National, better or worse. So you just want to kind of get a gauge on the client in the home. You want to ask the right questions, and you really want to dig into their medical, and you really want to dig into their criminal history and their driving history. Because if you just kind of skim on by and go, got a valid driver's license? And they go, yeah, and then you submit the app, but you come to find out that they had 3 DUIs, over the last 5 years, that's going to be rated or even a decline. Yeah, and that's why, you got to ask questions. Some of the questions on the app, have you had a bankruptcy in the last 5 years? Got to ask. Can't skip over anything, because guess what? You don't want any surprises. Because guess what happens with a surprise? A surprise means you now have to call Mr. and Mrs. Client and go, it's kind of like this weird, awkward conversation, like, hey, did you forget to tell me about the triple bypass? Or did that just kind of go over your head? You know what I mean? So that's something that you just kind of want to just really do your due diligence. It'll help them and it'll help you.
And this is just me asking, just coming from my old business and things.
Yeah.
Where you almost
We could probably, we're good, yeah.
kind of like a checklist of things where you make it conversational, so this way you kind of don't forget things.
Yeah.
I mean,